Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
Hello, I am Katie Lesperance. I'm one of the co-hosts of a podcast called Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast, with my two co-hosts, Travis Colnett and Jacob McCourt. We watch video game related movies or TV, and then we get together and have a really fun discussion about it. And we have a grand old time. Sometimes we have big opinions. Sometimes we just laugh a lot, but it's always a lot of fun. But today, I'm here to talk about one of my favorite games, Portal 2. So Portal 2 essentially is a puzzle game. Is based on portals that you create and position where you want within certain constraints. You kind of shoot them on the wall and you pass through them and use those to navigate through an area that is a puzzle to get through a room. And then once you pass that room, you're kind of into a new puzzle room. And then there's different elements. There's lasers, there's little blocks that you move around. But at the end of the day, it's a puzzle game, and I'm a sucker for a good puzzle game. And it's set in an interesting world. Aperture Science, which is a facility that's researching portals and kind of uses humans in tests to try and learn things about that. Now, the first game I really, really liked also. It might be a better game, like top to bottom. It's more concise. It's a little shorter. But Portal 2 just elaborates on everything that I loved about the first one is more so in Portal 2. So the characters, which I will get to, which are fantastic. There's more of them. They're all funny. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I love Portal and Portal 2 is the comedy is just perfectly in my lane. It's this weird, dry, dark humor that I personally just find hilarious. So there's more of that. And the environment of the first one it's very kind of sterile, white walls. It's a science facility and you're running through tests. But every now and then you get like a little glimpse of the underbelly. Like there's like a little bit of machinery and there's stuff kind of written on the walls by old test subjects. And it kind of gives you a little glimpse, but that's really it. Whereas the second one just takes that environment and it just blows it up. Like you see that place from every angle, from it's now dilapidated, it's falling apart. You see it being built back up, at times falling back apart again. GLaDOS is putting it back together as you're walking through it. So the environment is much more alive. Like it's moving around as you're making your way through. So it's more interesting than the first one. I really, really liked that. And also it's more of a reflection of what's going on in the game. You have the character Wheatley, who's not competent at making puzzles or rooms or building anything. So he tries to put some together, and those puzzles and rooms are just kind of shoddy and ill-conceived. And that tells you something about that. Like it's used as part of the story, which I really appreciated. So you make your way through to, like I said, the place has fallen apart. It's being built back up. And then at one point you get kind of thrown down through a bunch of pipes and stuff to the bottom of the entire facility. And that's where you get kind of like a lot more lore building. There's kind of the old offices from when they first made Aperture. And then you hear the voice, one of the new characters. It's not an active character in the game, but you hear a lot from him, is Cave Johnson, who's the founder of Aperture, voiced by J.K. Simmons, who does a fantastic job. And he's just kind of a stubborn billionaire guy who thinks he's a genius. He's pushing things forward no matter what. It's his way or the highway. He doesn't really care if his experiments are hurting people. It's kind of like, oh, suck it up. You'll miss a few rounds of canasta later in life, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. but he's very, very funny. And that kind of shows you like what philosophy Aperture was built on. And then you make your way back up to the regular facility, back to these rooms. So it really fleshes that out. And then the main reason that I love Portal 2, because it's a great puzzle game, like I said, that is very enjoyable. Just like the ebb and flow of frustration and then satisfaction when you've solved a thing that was stumping you is why I come to puzzle games, because it just feels very rewarding. And it's built on just a very simple concept. These portals, you can shoot 2 different portals. That's it. And it uses these 2 things and makes so many varieties of puzzles. It uses momentum, like where you are flying through one. If you drop down from a height into one portal that's you put on the ground way down there, and then one on the wall, your momentum follows through, so you'll end up flying through that one on the wall to the other side of the room. And that was in Portal 1, obviously, but it's a well-made game that uses a few concepts extremely well. But back to the reason why Portal 2 is one of my favorite games is the characters and the voice acting and the humor. So GLaDOS, who was so good again in the first game, but there's obviously more of her. It's a longer game. It's about 8 hours. Ellen McLean, does such a good job of doing this character that sounds a little bit robotic, but she puts so much dry personality and subtlety into what she's saying that she will never not make me laugh. Like, she could insult me in any way she wants for hours and I will laugh. She calls you fat and stupid in the most intelligent ways, in such a variety of ways that it tickles me. I don't know why. I don't know what it says about me, but she could insult me for hours, and I think it's hilarious. So there's more of her, but then obviously they couldn't just do that for 8 hours, because that would get, again, I could do it for 8 hours, but they probably had to flesh it out a little bit. So they introduce Wheatley, who is voiced by Stephen Merchant, also hysterical. He is a UK actor who's very, very funny. And he has that dry British, awkward sense of humor that is just perfect for this. So yes, he plays Wheatley. He is a kind of another personality core, basically little AIs that have been created. GLaDOS is one of them. Wheatley is another. He is less smart. He is less scathing. He's doesn't have it all together, but he is kind of leading you to try to escape this facility. And then this is a little bit of spoilers, but about a third of the way through, you kind of early defeat GLaDOS, and you swap out the personality cores so that GLaDOS is not in control of the facility anymore. Wheatley is, and he immediately gets just drunk off power. Whereas he initially was like, we just have to get her out of there. As soon as he's in it, he's like, this is amazing. I can do anything. I know everything. I can move everything. It's all up to me. And he just gets, like I said, just drunk on power and then does not want to leave that position. So he gets funnier. He shifts in a way that is interesting because he is, completely in control of everything now. He's very, very sensitive. He's a sensitive guy, and he hates being called dumb so much. He gets so mad. And then he's trying to prove to you constantly that he's smart. And it's fantastic. He is trying to build really good rooms, really good tricks that you can't solve at first. He wants you to solve them later. That's another story. But he's trying to do that. He's doing things like playing classical music over the speaker when you enter one of the test rooms. And he's like, oh, hello. I didn't see you there. As if he was like sitting by a big fire with a book. and just like, oh, didn't expect to find you here, please. Which infuriates GLaDOS. And that's another reason why Wheatley is great, because he gives GLaDOS someone else for her to play off of, and it gives her just more room to be funny and even develop the character a little bit more, because she's so frustrated that he's so stupid, and she's so funny. And then also you end up kind of teaming up with GLaDOS in spite of the fact that she hates you, to put her back in power, because the only thing scarier than a really, really, really smart person who's kind of evil in power is a complete idiot in power, which is Wheatley. He's literally programmed to be stupid. So you've got to get him out of there before he destroys the entire place again. Yeah, it's not just that there's new characters, it's that those characters, well, really Wheatley, is there to serve a purpose to just make the story bigger so that it lasts 8 hours. But it also gives, like I said, GLaDOS something else to do, and something else to talk about, and something else for her to be just hilarious talking about. So Portal 2, like I said, it's not perfect. Like, there's, once they brought in the gels, like that, when they coat surfaces, they give surfaces different properties. I was like, oh, I don't know. They're kind of stretching this out a little bit in a way where it used to be extremely simple concepts. And I was like, oh, they're adding maybe a couple of too many elements to these puzzles, but I still enjoyed them. It didn't hurt my experience at all. And from beginning to end, I am just so happy the entire time I'm playing this game. Every joke is unexpected. There's little practical jokes. Like, there's things that happen in the environment, like when GLaDOS is like, I have a present for you, and she hypes up this present, and then you walk into a room and she's like, just kidding, but there's a little kazoo sound and like confetti falling from the ceiling as she taunts you. It makes me laugh constantly. And I love this game. So yes, that was my pick, Portal 2. It's a great game. If you love puzzle games, it's a must play. I am Katie Lesperance. You can reach me on Twitter at Lesperak. I'm Lesperak. And also we have our podcast called Cutscenes. You can check us out there. And thanks to Fun and Games for having me on. Happy gaming.
Hey, I'm Jacob McCord.
I'm Katie Lesperance.
And I'm Travis Colnut.
We are hosting a brand new podcast called Cutscenes.
There are tons of video game podcasts and tons of TV film podcasts, but we're going to bring you the intersection of both and talk about video game, movies, and TV.
I know what you're thinking. Aren't most of them not very good? Wrong. Some of them are fine. And we're going to tell you all about them.
Make sure to subscribe on your podcasting platform of choice. Follow us on Twitter at cutscenes_pod. And most importantly, give us a listen.
See you soon.
Cutscenes, a video game movie podcast.
Do you wake up every morning, roll over, and check your favorite social media feed, only finding that you wish you had never looked at all? Well, Inklings is here to lift those doldrums during the month of November. Inklings is a fictional short story podcast that will run daily on weekdays during the month of November from Dreamer Productions, the Dole Up in Dreams podcast, and Isolation Cast, Voices from Quarantine. Let your mind run to its deepest desires in the isolation of imagination. The stories will run 2 to 10 minutes, so take a break for yourself and enjoy Inklings, your daily short story indulgence. You can find Inkling by liking and subscribing the Dole Up in Dreams podcast, as well as Isolation Cast, Voices from Quarantine, wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.